Hi everyone, and welcome to this second part of our What's New in Pano2VR version 7. I'm Martin from support, and I'm going to be joined by Karen.
Hi there. I'm going to be sitting in the background here, helping out for the Q&As, question and answer that we will have periodically throughout the webinar. If you have a question, please use the Q&A tab, not the chat, but the Q&A tab, because that's where we will be looking for the questions. And also, we have a lot to cover today, so we're asking you to please stay on topic and so that we can stay focused today. Welcome, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Karen. Right, as I say, this is part 2. This is all about what's new in version 7. Version 7 has had lots and lots of changes, so no doubt this may actually end up being more than a couple of parts, but we'll see how we go. Right, so what I want to start off with today then is we got as far as showing how to pin elements using the new way of pinning last week. So what we're going to do is sort of carry on a little bit from there, and we want to show the new pinned web element, which was the next thing that we wanted to talk about. Now, what is the pinned web element? Right, well, if we go and have a look at the viewer tools, you'll see that it's here. You use the keyboard shortcut W to change to it. So let's just hit W, and you can see you can do that there. Whilst we're at doing this, as you can see, when I hit a key on my on the keyboard, you can see the key appears at the top here. The only thing to comment on really here is that when I press the command key, I'm on the Mac, that's going to be the control key for the PC. So if I do a key combo and I'm using, I don't know, say command C to copy something, it'll be control C, obviously, on the PC. Right, with that said then, so let's just have a look at what this pinned web element can do. So let's just have a look at this tour. I'm going to go into the kitchen, I spin it round, and then we've got a clock. There we go, we've got a ticking clock ticking away. And this was using the pinned web element and a iframe. So let's just have a quick look how we did that. So yeah, let's go to the kitchen. And here is the pinned web element. Here it is there, and here is the web element's properties. So it's element 01 is the ID, and you can see I'm using an iframe here. Now, basically what I did for this project was under the advanced, I set a clock. Under the resources, I set a clock HTML page. I went on the internet, searched for an HTML5 clock, found one I liked, added it to my assets, and then I could bring it in via the iframe here. Right, so how do we add another one? Well, what I'm going to do is if we go to the dining room, when you look back, you can see the clock. Okay, so what I want to do is add another one here. Now, there's a couple of ways I can do that in this particular project. I can either go to the list view, select the first or the kitchen panorama that's got the clock. I can right button click, press copy, go into the dining room, right button click in here and press paste, and I've now pasted the clock in. Now it's obviously pasted it in its own pan angle, so I could click it and drag it over, then obviously resize it here. But what we're going to do is actually add one from scratch. But before I do that, before I delete this one, I'm just going to copy the iframe, and I'm just going to delete that. There we go, and then we're going to use this, we're going to add one from a brand new web element. So making sure that you've got your web element selected in the viewer, double click and it adds the web element. Now what we've added, and this is going to be available in the next update, yours won't have it just yet, but if you want to resize this thing, the actual web element, you can do you can click and drag a handle, but as you can see, you can only click one at a time. This is how it is currently, but the next update you'll hold down the option key, which is also the alt key on the PC, and then you can click and resize the whole thing together. Okay, so that's doing that. So what I'm going to do is, with the web element selected, I'm just going to paste in the iframe. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so I can better accurately place it. Again, hold down the Alt key, resize it. Now you can see that it's flat towards me, but obviously the wall's on an angle. So I can use these little handles that we've had before and just scoot them around. There we go. And what I'm going to do here is just create an output and just see what we've got so far. So let's just do that. Now, this is another little trick I'm going to show you. Obviously, when I open it up, it's going to take me to the default or the start panorama. So what I'm going to do in Pano2VR is I'm going to right button click. I'm going to set this as my default view, and I'm going to set this as my start panorama. All right. Now, the reason for doing that now, so when I click and it opens up, boom, I'm looking at the clock. Now you can see the clock is not correct, and the reason why that is so is because the clock itself, if you look at the iframe, the height and width is 400 pixels and the thing itself is set for 1000 pixels. Now this size is referring to the resolution of the image, so or the resolution of the frame. It's more important if you're doing things like, I don't know, copy and pasting the embed code of, say, a YouTube or video, a Vimeo video. But in this case, we're just going to set it to 400 by 400, so we're matching the size of the iframe. And again, we're going to click and have a look, and there it is. Now it's not particularly great there, so what we can do is to tidy that up is just to probably straighten up a little bit more, and we can bring the handles in just to tidy that up. Alright, so we can do that. Let's have a look. Alright, so that's basically the web element pinned, and there, so it's not looking too bad at all. So now what we've got then is that when we go to this node, we've got the clock, and then we spin it round and spin back, we've still got the clock ticking and showing the correct time. What I liked about this with this particular panorama is that you've got the shadow of the clock in the door, which was really cool. Anyway, so that's pinning the web element and the new way of resizing it. As I say, yours doesn't have that yet, your build doesn't. You'll have this in the next update. Right, now I did say that you could also pin things like videos. So let's just do something a little bit crazy, shall we? Let's go to the website, and let's just, I don't know, let's just pick a video from the documentation. I don't know, this one will do. This is a Vimeo video, and we can use the embed code. I can copy that. Let's just close that down. I'm still in the web element. Double click, there it is. I can use the Alt key to resize that just roughly, paste in the video. Important, look at the video resolution, 640 by 360. So let's type that in, 640 by 360. There it is. Let's just resize that to, I want to stretch it out. Now it will appear to be slightly stretched obviously in the output, but the idea is just to show you how quick and simple it is to pin these things. Right, so that's done. Open that up, and when I spin it around, he says there's the video pinned to the wall. Hi, it's Hopkey, and welcome to the... There we go. Don't like that bloke's voice, drives me nuts. Anyway, so there's the pin video. All right, so that's basically using the pinned web element. That's the new way of resizing. My mouth's drying up a little bit, so I'm going to throw it over to Karen and say, Karen, do we have any questions?
Well, no.
Cool.
So drink quickly.
Done. Okay. All right.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry. Somebody got in there quick.
Cool.
Oh, okay. Danielle, can you explain how iframe size, how the iframe size value and the size fields are related?
Right. Okay. What, this is in the pinned video, right?
Yeah. Go back to the pinned video.
So, well, the web elements, because it's got the same thing. It's basically the iframe got the size.
Yeah.
It's to do with the resolution. We can set the size. Basically, the size is we're actually setting the field of view. so how big it's going to be. But things like video, that's and this particular iframe, it's the iframe is saying it wants to be 400 by 400 pixels, and that's what it's going to be. So if I was to set this to say 800 by 800, theoretically it's going to be a smaller, it's going to be smaller and stuck into one corner. He says, here we go, because I've halved the size of it. So I've made the frame or the web element twice the size as its content. So that's why you get this difference in size. So I don't know if that explains it. I can't really think of any decent way of explaining it other than you really want to match the size of the initial frame to the iframe code, and then when you resize it, it tries to fit it inside and keeping the, well, not keeping the aspect ratio, but keeping it the correct size all the time. But yeah, you can see by this just little demonstration, 400 by 400, I made the frame size 800 by 800, and so therefore the clock was half the size. If that helps, I don't know.
I think that helped me. Yeah. There's also a question about the web element, if it works in VR mode, and no, it does not.
No, it doesn't. Also, as another thing that's come in with the web element, it's a div basically within the panorama or in it, so you could have more than one element inside the single web element. So again, that's probably why you might want to, if I had two clocks in there for argument's sake, you might want the size to be 400 width but 800 tall if I had two stacked on top of each other. So that's another thing to consider with sizing. Alrighty, so any more questions? I think that's covered about that one, but yeah, any more?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm getting too many windows. My mouse is not on the right spot. I just wanted to say that a div is, we're talking about div tag in HTML. It's a little nerdy, so I just wanted to clarify that. And yes, you can insert an object to VR file there, I think.
Yep.
As long as it's within an iframe. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And any more questions before we move on? Nope. If not, we'll catch you in the next one. Don't worry, we'll have another pause. Okay.
All right, cool.
I'll tell you.
Right, okie dokie. Right, moving on then. What I want to look at now is some of the new features that we've added to the tour map. So what I'm going to do is open up the tour map. Well, let's close the list view and open up the tour map. Here it is. So this is my tour map. And what I also want to do actually before we go any further, because this is quite cool. Last week we spoke about the new skins, and you can see by this skin what we've got here is this particular project's got a floor plan. Let me just close that one. And if I open up the tour map, you'll see we've got the floor plan here. So the output will show that. Okay, so there it is. So this is the floor plan button. Now the skins are fully adaptive. If I'm going to add a map to this, and then the idea is that the skins now can detect what elements we've added. So once we've added a map, what you'll see in the skin here is a new map button appear all by itself magically. So this is just something I just wanted to point out before I carry on. Right, so let's just go to the map then. So here is the tour map. It's showing a floor plan, but what I want to do is just quickly, I'm going to add a new map. All right, so this is a floor plan, so I'm going to add a map, and I just want to add a map box map. Now obviously it pops up and says map box requires access tokens, blah blah blah. If you need to know anything about that, then you've got the little button here that opens up Mapbox Studio, which then enables you to do that. Now I'm going to paste in my access token. Now luckily for me, the access token is really long, so no one can steal it. All right, so there it is. And if I look at, say, terrain, hang on, what's going on here? he says, error. Okay, I've messed up my token. Awesome. So let's just copy that and get rid of all of that and paste that in. And here it is. Right, okay, that's it. I can't copy and paste. That's official. Good. Right, so here it is. There's the map. So I'm now using a map box. Map inside the map tour map. There we go. I'm going to need new teeth by the end of this, I'll tell you. Right, so there it is. Now what we want to look at, and why I'm bringing this to your attention, is we've now got multi-layered maps. So here we've got this little checkbox that says multi-layered. So when I click this, we get this grid appear, or this table. So what I can do here is select, say, something like terrain. So let's just do that. Okay, and I'm going to add a satellite one as well. So okay, so satellite and terrain. What that does is it adds another little drop down menu next to the map that you can select, and I can now select the two maps from the custom map, all right, from the map properties. What this now does what this does and lets me do is, if I generate a new output, as I said, we've now got magically appearing, because we've added a custom map, the map button. And when I select this, it now gives me the option to add the terrain and satellite views in the map. So that saves you having to add multiple maps if you want different views. You can now put this in the single map element, and that enables you to do that. Now, I say I'm using Mapbox. It also works with Google and other map providers. So yeah, there we go. So that's the new map. What are we calling it? Multi-layered map. Right. Okay. What else did we want to do here? Right. Okay. I just opened the skin. Sorry about that. Basically, what I want to show you now is some of the new tools that we have. So if I separate the map from the panel, so it just makes it easier for you guys to see. But basically what we've got is limits, map limits. Now you can see this particular map only has a certain amount of zoom, and it stops. It then starts saying that, you know, we've got tiles missing. This particular map provider doesn't give us high resolution tiles. But one of the other things that happens in an output is that when somebody can see a map, they can zoom out and move off, and they can get lost. So what we've done now is added set map limits. As soon as I select this, you'll see I've got a crosshair, and what I can do now is click and drag and set the limits that I want to show in the map element. There we go. So that's that. I can click the tools button here, close the map, and now when I generate a new output and have a look at the map, you'll see there it is, and it's limited. I can't move it around. So that's quite a good feature, because before then, of course, what people were doing was, you know, zooming in and out. Well, we don't have the resolution on that one, but zooming in and out and very easily losing where they were. But now you can restrain your viewer to the area of the map that you want to or want them to look at. Okay, so that's the map limits. And for other projects such as Google and Street View, one of the things that we got asked a lot was can we have some overlays, some grids to help spacing. So what we've done is gone one better as usual, and if I open up the map, what we've done now is added a grid, but not just a grid. No, not just any grid. When I click it, it asks you questions. It says grid spacing in meters. We can change feet and miles, etc. But basically we can set the grid limit. Let's just set that for, say, 1. All right. And it says here, if you hold the option or the alt key, I can drag a grid around, and if I hold the option plus command key, I can rotate it. So let's just see what this looks like. If I click OK, you'll see I don't see a grid because I'm not zoomed in. So if I start to zoom in a bit more, you can see that the grid then appears. Now, the problem with this particular map is it doesn't have the resolution, so I'm going to change to the Google map, which you would probably use anyway if you're going to be doing Street View or something like that. But you can zoom in, and I've now got the grid spacing, so I know how far my nodes are apart. And as it said, if I hold down the option on the Mac and it's the Alt on the PC, I can move the grid around to, if I want to center a pin in the grid. And if I hold down the option command, or as it is the Control Alt keys, I can click and drag. Now where I click and drag is where I rotate the grid. So the idea here is I could, you know, set the grid up and align it correctly for when I'm placing my map pins. I'm not sure what I set that to actually. Did it? Was it 1 pixel? Oh, sorry, 1 meter. Yeah, it was 1 meter spacing. So yeah, I could set 1 meter spacing for Google's recommended inside, or we could set the 3 meters if we're outside. Okay, so that's the new features in the map. One last thing before I go is we can also set the radar color. Here the default is red, and we can bring up the color picker and change it. I don't know, let's change it to green. Click OK. So, you know, this is just purely for the tour map. It's not for the output. That's got separate settings. But this is when you're working in Pano2VR. You may want something more high contrast with, or depending on what your background map's going to be. But I'm just going to change that back to red, my default. There we go. So that's some of the new tools that we've brought to the tour map. And on that little note, I think I'm going to throw it back to Karen and see if ask the question, do we have any more questions before I move on?
Yeah, we have a few. So you can take a long drink break.
Cool.
So Mika wanted to ask about 3D models in the web element. And the answer is no, you can't add 3D models yet, but it's on the to-do list. And there is no specific date of when that'll appear, but it's on our list. So
unless you put the 3D model in its own HTML page, then you can embed it.
Okay.
Sorry, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah.
But not directly. We don't support the files directly, as Karen says.
Yep. And Greg noticed we have an issue, which we know about. Greg noticed that when you're using the Mapbox, the Google API is being used. And this is an issue we know about and should be fixed in the next update, I think. And if you can't wait until then, you can go into the map element in the skin editor and flip the switch there, I think. Yep. In the map properties. It's just using the Google API instead of Leaflet API.
Oh, cool. But the tour map always uses the Google one, right? So, because that's obviously...
Yeah, here, yeah. But then on the output.
Oh, right, the output, yeah. Okay, right. Yeah. No, it's all right. I was just looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, we've always used the Google API. No.
Where is your output? Maybe you can just show it, like, so maybe other people didn't notice that, okay. Just so you know.
So let's have a look. It says Google.
Yeah, you see, and that shouldn't be there. That's not using the right API there.
Yeah, it's just in the built-in skin. So basically, find the skin, save it to your project folder, and go into the map element and change the map provider.
Yep, but we'll have that fixed.
Yep.
So Daniel's curious about how the map provider is seeing those multi-layered maps. So he's wondering if they're just regular strings, like just text that you're adding in there, terrain and satellite. And he's wondering, how do the map providers know what is terrain and what is satellite? Like how is this working?
You're asking me. I don't know.
Well, I guess his next question is more importantly, can you put in a different language in there? And
what in the? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
I think
is the answer, and I think that's one to.
Okay, they're just labels.
Yeah. Okay.
We're getting input.
Yeah, from the The
So you
teams
can
are.
use any language you want.
Yeah. Okay. I've never played with it, so I'm not going to say hand on heart yes or no because I've never played with it. So, but I'm sure. But we're
Yeah.
getting messages from the team saying, "Yep." So, all
Yeah.
good.
Okay. So they're just labels, and I guess it's whatever you.
Oh, hang on, these things. Yeah, hang on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
name, where you're just setting the name, and name is attached to terrain. So
Yeah.
you could change your name to I don't know
That's
blob. I don't-
my favourite one.
or Bob. Yeah.
Bob. So we got a Bob map.
Yeah. And that could be whatever. Yeah. And the is the style in the style URL that is defined by map box, right? So if you were to add another one, what other options do we have there? I think I missed this.
Right, okay. What I'm going to quickly do, I don't know. I'm just going to make sure that. Hang on, let me take this off screen because I don't know what information I'm going to be sharing here. Right, okay. I've got a Mapbox account, and basically, what you can do. Now, I'm not going to share that screen because it's got data on it that I don't want people to see. But basically, if you go to Mapbox and create your own, this here is the ones that it comes with. So these are the basic ones that you can have, right? But what you can do is if you go to Mapbox yourself, like to the website, and then make your own style map, they'll give you a URL and you can paste that in here. Hence why it says style URL, because on the Mapbox website you can have your own funky map, and they will give you the access token, which is this thing. And then they'll give you the style URL which you can paste in here, and again you can add that to the list or just create a single layered map with that particular style. So.
Yeah. Okay. And right. Okay. So Daniel's got it all clear, right? On that one. Yeah. It's not fixed. That changes, and it depends also on your map provider. So like, he's just using Mapbox here, but if you're using anything else, right, this will change. And then you can attach that name, which is whatever you want it to be. Yeah. Okay. What's next? Can you have different map limits on different maps independently? Asks Paul.
That's a good question. I don't think we can have zoom limits on them. We can have limits, obviously viewing limits for zooming out, because obviously if you've restrained the amount that you can see, then that restrains how much you can zoom out. But for zooming in, I think you can only zoom into the quality of the map tiles being shipped by the map provider, as you saw earlier on when I
That
selected.
would be my guess too. It depends on the provider.
Absolutely.
I think.
And also, actually, glad you said that, Karen, because what it also means as well is that when we were doing this grid, setting this toggle grid, remember I said that it's basically you have to zoom in before you can start to see it, right? So if I was to zoom in, then all of a sudden you start to see the grid. So if you've set your grid up to be, say, 1 meter apart, as an example, if I go to satellite view, I can't zoom in enough to see the grid. If I go to road map, then I can go in one more and then I can see the grid. So it really does depend on the resolution of the map tiles that are being delivered by the map provider. Also with Google, they've got different resolution map tiles depending where you are in the world. So somewhere like London or New York, you're going to have some quite high resolution map tiles, but somewhere in the middle of the Gobi Desert, you won't be. So if you set your 1 meter spacing up for your grid, be aware that you may not be able to activate it in all of the maps if you're going to go that sort of resolution. But having said that, as a thing, if I was to set up toggle grid and just go 2 meters, then on the satellite view I get the grid. So you can just adjust to get the different grids, grid resolutions for the resolution of the map tile. There you go.
Yeah, I think that was clear.
There's mud.
Yeah. And maybe this is interesting for others there but for me it wasn't at first clear why the grid is helpful, um, and I think you clarified that already. But the grid is useful, specifically for uh, street view tours.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Street view sort of say 1 meter inside, 3 meters outside. I'm not sure if that's
Mhm.
still relevant, but if you go onto the street view, how to's, then they still specify that. So, yeah.
Mhm. Okay. John or Daniel, no, the VR mode does not support the web element, so that clock will not show. So that, just to reiterate that. And Daniel, which map provider would you recommend for smaller projects that don't charge a fee, but looks kind of professional and works well on Pano2VR? I think Mapbox looks great.
Yeah, and OpenStreetMap. I don't.
OpenStreetMap.
I don't think they're bad.
There's a few map. There's a map provider that I have in the documentation that I've listed. I can put a link there, but it's called Stamen Maps, Stamen. But I'll post a link in the chat. They have just only a few different tiles, but they look really nice.
If you go down to custom, so here
and
it's
you would add it there.
Yeah, I mean basically the URL needs to end with an image, like in this one .ping, but then you can edit. I don't know. So this is this one, but this is just a. Oh, they've got multi-layered. Look. Awesome. But anyway, yeah.
I don't think that so Daniel's also asking if like Pano2VR can have limits. Like if Pano2VR can hold, set a limit or a number of requests to the map, so you don't have to end up paying for it.
No,
I don't think so.
No, you. If I understand the question, so yeah, because obviously every time you open up a Google Map, you're actually using a bit of credit. So, yeah, I think what you're after is metering it, so you're preventing. So once you're getting to your credit mark, it stops working. No, Pano2VR can't do that. So, right, okay.
Sorry, I was just reading some of the notes that were.
Whilst you're doing that, the grid view also works, by the way, in the floor plan. I did forget to mention that, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
And you can spin the old grid round and straighten things up.
John's wondering if you can add polyline to maps, but I don't know what a polyline is, so maybe someone can school me on that. And in the meantime, Rolf is asking if you can show the actual location pin, and I think the pin of the node.
What, actually in the output? The actual graphic, you mean?
I'm not quite sure. Rolf, if you could elaborate on that for us, then that would be helpful. And I'm getting some information about the location of the user in the map. We have a request for that, and
it's in the forum.
It's in the forum, and what's the word on it?
It works. That's the word.
Oh, it works. Okay.
It works. It works well.
Okay.
It's hang on, let me have a look.
You guys built something, and so you can find this in the forum, right?
Yeah. So let's go to. I don't think it
was.
In
the meantime, while you're showing that,
real time.
I'm also getting word that now I know. In relation to John's question about the polyline, talking about lines or paths, thank you, or even polygons to mark an area, or joining those nodes visually. And we do not have that supported yet, but we're going to add it to the list. So we'll add that to the list.
Right, just quickly then on the screen, you can see this is the project showing your real-time location. When you open it, because it wants to see your real-time location, the website obviously asks you, are you going to allow it? So you allow it, and then when you open up the tour map, in this particular case, I've broken it. Okay, but yeah, it's there. But it needs to know your location first.
Okay. I can confirm that's the town that Martin is sitting in.
Yeah, that's All right. So yeah, that's the real like. But yeah, it's the tracking. It does work. I think I put a picture up when I was down on the seaside somewhere, and but what it does do is what's going to be quite odd is that your location, if you're looking at somewhere like I'm in the UK, if I'm looking at somewhere in, I don't know, Australia, then it's like my map pin is going to be quite some distance away from the tour. So there you go. Right. Okay.
Okay, I think that is all for now. And we'll catch you. If you have a question, we'll catch you on the next round.
On the next slide. Right. Okay. Okay, staying with the map and floor plans, one of the things that we introduced was a new linking option. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just have a look at the linking option. Here we go. You can see I've got a floor plan, and I'm going to select, I'm going to hold down the command key, so control on the PC, and select these pins, and I'm going to select remove all links. Now basically when you select this, it's only going to remove the links from the ones I've selected. Where the ones I didn't select, it still leaves the link there. Okay, cool. Right, so that's quite good. Right, now the new option is linking from current node. Now this can be used, but it needs to be used with a little bit of a caution. What this does is this links from the selected node to all the nodes in the project. All right, but like what we just did before, if you then select your start node and then say, right, I'm in the kitchen, I want to link to the WC here in the kitchen, so I hold down the command, which is the control key on the PC, and with that selected, I can then go link from current node, and it automatically links from those two that I've selected. Had you been in a tour that's got 50 nodes around you and you didn't select, you'll select your start node, click that, and then you'll link up to all of those other nodes. So this is quite good, but you've got to know how to use it for it to be, very good, if you know what I mean. It's yeah, so you wouldn't want to just use this and not select any sub nodes or sub links in the tour. Right. Okay.
Can you show that again?
Right. Okay.
So at least for me.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna just select something. Just get rid of this. Now I've got to be careful because I've noticed this cursor ring that highlights where my cursor is sometimes interferes with what I'm clicking at. So if I tend to click something half a dozen times, it's only because this cursor highlight thing's getting in the way. Right, so what I did before, I've got node A selected. I'm going to use the command key, so control on the PC. I'm going to select only these two map pins, and I'm going to use remove all links. So it just removes those links from the selected map pins. All right, it's left this one alone because D was not selected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come out of this and say, right, quickly I want to link A and B and C together. So again, command click those two, automatic linking from current node, click, and we link those up. There we go. So we're linking from the current node to the selected nodes.
Great, thanks. I think the graphics and going fast, it might have been hard to see. So, okay, thank you.
Cool. Right. Okie dokie. So that was the new linking method. I should have included that in the last session, really, but never mind. Right. Okay. So that's the tour map and linking options. Okay. So the next thing I want to look at then is really to do with the skin editor. So if we open up the skin editor, what we want to, let's just close the map and various other little bits. Right, what we want to look at here is some of the new features in the skin. As we're working through the webinar, I do feel we're going to run out again, but it doesn't matter. Right, so the new features then in the skin. Want to first look at the edit and the new find menu. So under edit, we've got this find here, and we've also got the find button here. Okay, and it opens up a search box. All right, now what the search box allows you to do is to search for an element. So for argument's sake, if you wanted to find a map pin, you don't know where it is in here, just type in, and it will show you all of the elements that the map pin influences. So here I've got a map pin, but then it will show me 4 map elements. So I've got a map element and a floor plan, and then the same again for the phone, so for mobiles. If I click exact match, he says, it's showing everywhere map pin. I can just click ID, and then it will show me the 1 element exact match for that ID. So you can see this is quite powerful. The other thing with this as well is that you can, if I just close this, I can, for argument's sake, right button click here and find element usage. So again, it finds that, but this time round, what it's done automatically is automatically select elements, because the context menu was to find elements usage. So it's automatically selected elements in the search and exact match. All right, so this is showing me that this map pin is used within, so there's the map pin itself, and the map pin is also used within these map elements. Right, okay. All right then, so that's that. Keyboard shortcut, again, forgot to mention that. If you've got, you can bring up the find box by using Command F or Control F, the same as you would any find dialog box within a computer. The other thing is, as well, is if you've got an element already selected and you open up the find or the search box, you'll see that it's already selected. If I just deselect everything and do that, you'll see it opens up blank. The difference is being here, you can see the exact match is deselected and it's searching everywhere by default. So again, if I was to hide this, I don't know, select screen tint and then do the find, you'll see that it's doing exact match and looking for screen tint. All right, then we could then modify the search for it. I don't know, so let's see what variables that would affect it, but there isn't any. So yeah, okie dokie. Right, so that's that. Let's have a look. So we've got the that's the search filter. We've find element. So let's find an element usage. Well, we've done that with the map pin. Rename element. Right, this is quite cool. As you're probably aware, that Pano2VR can either use variables or it can use IDs within actions. So you can, I don't know, hide and show an element and use its ID. Of course, if you want to rename an element, you've then got to rename, you have to go into all of the different elements that like say a button that has the action that would hide and show that particular element. But what we can do here is right button click, let's go into rename element, and you can see that we get this dialog box drop down. All right, and you can see here that it got exact match. I really can't talk today, sorry, but got exact match selected. So it's looking for just a screen tint, and here it is. And I can type in a new name and then click replace. The good thing about doing it here is that this affects the naming of this element in everywhere. So if I've got a button, a map button that would hide and show a map but also does the screen tint as well, that button's action would automatically be updated. So I can change the name of the element here and rest assured that it will still function with other, with other buttons that would interact with that element, if that makes sense. Right, so that's what that does. The other thing here is you've got this little checkbox here. Let's see if I can find something more interesting. So let's go back to the map pin and let's rename the element there. Now, why is this interesting? Because I could rename the element, but there may be a situation where I don't want the element to be renamed elsewhere. So I could actually deselect it, those two there, rename an element, and it's going to be renamed only those that are selected, and the other two floor plans won't be. So here's the map pin. What I'm going to do is just going to call this map underscore pin underscore 2 as a thing, and then we have to click replace. You can see it's updated here. Close. Now what I can do now is if I go into find usage, you'll see that it's now still and it's been updated, so all these map elements are now using this. Now again, if you open something up in the search, if I click it, you'll see that it selects it in the skins tree, and if I was to double click it, it selects it and then hides the search box for you. So I double click and it hides it. And if I was to go to the floor plan, you can see cloner's marker, it's now using map pin underscore 2, which confirms what we've just said. So when you do a rename and using the find feature to do that, then it updates everywhere throughout Pano2VR, saving you lots of headaches. Now again, if I go to the, if I just deselect everything and go to find, you'll see that you can manually hide and show that find feature here. So you can put in an element's name. So it was it map pin 2, do an exact match. There it is. So it's everywhere. So IDs, and I'm going to take that back to map underscore pin and replace, and that takes my skin back again. There we go. All right, I did leave those unchecked, but yeah, okay. So yeah, so you can see that's the best way for really updating maps. Now this is obviously a system skin, so I don't want to save this. All right, so that's that, because it's the feather box, which is right protected. Okay, so that's renaming. The other thing I want to show you what this can do as well, which is probably its best tool in my opinion, being a bit of a skin junkie and playing around with skins a lot, and that's the finding warnings. Now you just saw a warning there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste using the keyboard the map pin, and as soon as I do that, that means I've got two instances of the same element. I get a little orange rectangle appear. It's telling me that it's, you know, it's not it's telling me what's wrong. So this ID of this element is not unique. All right. Pano2VR, depending on what you do with it, you can have same IDs if you're using something like variables to hide and show things. But if you've got a button to hide and show something, then it normally affects only the first one in the tree. You have to do something special for it to affect all of them. But yeah, so this is why that's popped up as a warning. If we do the right button click, he says, let me have a look here. Oh no, because it's to show warnings of the whole skin. Right, so find warning, so from the edit menu then, and it will show, it was saying it here, look, there we go. So this map pin ID of the element is not unique. We had that before, and yeah, because it's saying that because I've got two of them, and if I delete that, that will then update all of that. Okay, so that's finding warnings. Let me have a quick look. Right.
Just wanted to pop in and
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. I was just about to say I've just had a look on my list, and that's about as much as I want to go with that for the second. And I was just going to throw it open to you to see if we've got any questions, Karen. But go on.
No, we don't have any questions, but I wanted to also remark on the fact that you can rename variables, which can be really fast.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Completely forgot that, because obviously with the renaming, you can select variables and then type in the variable. But what you can also do is if you click in the skin itself, let's hide everything so I can get to the variable tree. I can right button click and rename. Again, you can find usage and rename on a variable. So there it is, it's variables exact match, and then you can rename it there. And again, as before, when you rename it, Pano2VR renames it everywhere, so whatever was using it still works. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Sorry.
No, I was reading Michael Lennox here has maybe not a question, but maybe he so he has a problem where he doesn't want the skin to not have it always update when the skin itself is referenced to to the current project. So like when he opens up the project and he doesn't realize that, oh, I still have the skin editor open from this other project, then it can, maybe he ends up editing the wrong skin or something like that. And he's just wondering what is the best solution, or if there's a way to not, let this happen.
Right. Okay. So just to picture this. So basically, you've got two instances of Pano2VR open, and you've got both skin editors open. And what you're trying to do is to say, right, if I open up is try not to edit the skin of the version of the wrong Pano2VR instance. Is this what we're saying?
Yeah, I think that's how I understand it. Or no, no. And
Oh, so so you only see the skin from the open project, basically, is what?
Yeah, saying if he closes the skin editor, it changes the skin in the project.
Right. Okay. I can see.
Yeah.
So basically, you select your. I mean, if the skin's open and you change projects, I don't think it's going to change. But if you've obviously closed the skin and changed projects and opened the skin, then the skin to the relevant selected project will open.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
But
I think.
But I'm getting a message here saying that it will also do it if the skin is still open. So. I've only got one project here, so I can't show that. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, if the skin is open, you've got two projects. As soon as you select a different project, the skin should change to the new project.
Yeah.
And I'm confused. Right, I'm just going to leave it at that.
We're both confused.
Yeah,
I guess the point is, I don't know. I've never run into this issue, and we're always opening Pano2VR. Like, I think we have like multiple instances of Pano2VR open. I think the best thing is to maybe just, save it and close it.
Or even ask the question in support, but just to see if you can make it a little bit clearer.
Yeah, that's right.
Because obviously on the fly here, I'm trying to think. Obviously, I'm trying to concentrate on the webinar, but also trying to answer the questions. And it's like,
yeah, right. That probably wasn't a very good themed question, but anyway, yeah, Michael, if you're having a problem with that, definitely write into support at ggnomeme.com, and we will help you there and get you situated. Yeah.
All right.
Looks like somebody else is answering you. Okay. So, and I think that's it for these questions. If you've got more, Martin, I think you can go on.
Right. Lovely. Okay. Right. Next update, version 7's got then is animated image or direct animated image support. In previous versions, we could use animated GIFs and pings and things like that. But what we had to do is open the skin editor up and basically, let's open a new skin actually. So let's just select a new skin. So basically what we had to do was use the external image loader, put the image in as an asset, and then we type the path into the image for the external loader to show it. It wasn't a bad thing, but it was a little bit of faff. So what we've done now in version 7 is if I open up my assets or resources, I've got a bouncy ball, stick that in there, and if I go to preview, you'll see that the bouncy ball works straight away. So we've now got animated image support, not just in the skin actually. What we can also do, let me just do that and not save it. Let's go back to one of the skins, and I'm going to select the hotspot, and I'm going to use a custom image, and we are going to use the bouncy ball as the custom image. Here we go. So let's just Right, now what I didn't do was set that. So that's now I'm going to set that back to my start image, and that's going to be my default view. You can see how quick this is. That's why I like doing it, to be fair. We're just showing off. Right, okay, so there it is, and there's the bouncy ball. So you can use animated images for custom images. You could obviously add them in the skin, and so yeah, so that's something that we've brought to version 7, which is quite cool. So that's direct image support. Right, one of the other things that we support as well is, so we do animated GIFs, animated pings, obviously animated SVGs, but we also support WebP. Now, WebP is not fully supported by all browsers. So what I did was I just found a link for it, and just to give you some idea of why we're talking about this, is here is a JPEG. It's 400 and it's 43 kilobytes, and under WebP it's 29 kilobytes, and it's because it's WebP, it's PNG, so you can have transparency with it as well. So yeah, that's so Pano2VR also supports this, but as I say, be aware if you're going to use this, it's not quite what I would call cross-browser supported. But anyway, we also support the WebPs. Okay, so back to the skin editor then. We've seen the new edit and find features. What we want to look at now is some of the new features that we've added in the tools. We now have Lottie, PDF, and the code element. So let's start off with a Lottie. Right, now basically a Lottie image, if I select this and click it, it asks me to find a Lottie image. Now what I'm going to do is open up a website. Now we've got a couple of links, but I'm just going to copy one just to show you, and just paste that there and have a look at this website to show you what a Lottie actually is. So I'm just going to pick on this trash can, and basically here is a Lottie image. So it's an animated image, so to speak, and what you're actually wanting to look at is the JSON file. That's what you need to download. So I'm going to click that, and we're going to download the JSON file. Here we go. So let's just open up that and stick that in my resources like that. So now when I go to the Lottie and add that, go to resources, and there it is. It's the JSON file. Click open. It's a little bit large, but we can lock the aspect ratio and take it down to, say, I don't know, 40 pixels. Right, just going to stick it there, and we're going to preview it. Okay, so there is the Lottie image. All right, you saw it do a little wiggle and stop. Right, if we look at this and have a look at the attributes of the Lottie element, you can see that we've got the standard positioning, appearance, but under the Lottie animation tab, you can see that we've got some other things we can do. So here it just says autoplay. So on open, it plays once and stops. All right. What we can do here is select play once on mouse over. So if I mouse over it, it plays once and stops. Okay. We've also got play loop. So on mouse over and just keep it there, it just keeps looping. And the other option we've got is play once forward and mouse leave plays backwards. This is actually quite cool. So you can do that, and when you mouse away, you get the reverse of the animation. You can also do things like change the speed. So if I was to go 3 times the speed, you can see you get a little bit faster, and obviously we can change background color to it, and the scaling of it as well. So does it so we can see how large does it appear, and its positioning within the skin editor. Okay, so that's the Lottie. There are several websites. As I say, I've just seen one, so if I just copy this link and go into another one, we will put the links up in the page. He says, let me go to, where we gone? Here it is. So this is the lottiefiles.com. These are all free. It's a sign up. You obviously sign up for it, but this gives you lots and lots of free Lottie files. All right, so you've got loads to play with here, and it adds a little bit more punch to your outputs. And of course, the Lottie files, being pure code, don't hardly take up any resources, and of course they work on mobiles and other devices as well. So yeah, that's a really good addition to the skin editor. All right, so that's the Lottie file. The other thing that we've added is the PDF. So when I select this, we've got, oh, I locked the aspect ratio, didn't I? Here we go. So if I unlock that, I can now move it. The other thing here, whilst I'm here, is you can see I can move it and change the shape. If I hold down the shift key, we keep the aspect ratio. That's nothing more than just a quick tip. Right, okay, so we've got the PDF. If we have a look, again, we've got the position appearance for the rectangle, but underneath the PDF tab, you'll see that we can add a PDF image, and we can select all of its attributes. What I'm going to do is show you adding a PDF via the hotspot, and we'll have a look at it. But before we do, you can see that we can change all of these attributes. This particular version also gives me a start page. Yours doesn't have this, but the next update will have this. So if you want to open a PDF and a different start page, you'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to do that via the hotspots as well. So anyway, so that's that. What I'm going to do then is talk no more other than just show you how we're going to do that. So let's just get rid of this. So let's go to the kitchen, and here we go. What I'm going to do is add, let's go to resources, and here is the oven. So or the hob. So let's add the hobs. No, I won't. Yes, I will. The hobs PDF instruction booklet. There we go. So as soon as I do that, click OK. Actually, I won't do that just a second. Stop that. It's because I dragged and dropped the PDF directly into the viewer. You'll see that it's automatically added the path to it. So when we click create output, what it will do is it will take this file and then put it in the media folder in the output automatically for us. We don't have to worry about this. All right, so there we go. We've added that file. I'm just going to create the output. And let's go to the kitchen, spin it round. There's the PDF, and when I click it, boom, we get the instruction manual. As I say, it's starting with page 1. The next updates will allow you to modify what pages that you open in, but I won't go into that right now because you don't have it. Right, okay, so that's the PDF, and as I say, just if you were to add, if you wanted to add a PDF hotspot, again, you would select the hotspot viewer mode, double click, URL PDF. This then changes to the PDF file, so you'd select the PDF file that you wanted. So let's just go to the cookbook. There we go. And yep, let's give it a name. Select that. So this is the manual way of doing it rather than just dragging and dropping. And then we've got the PDF being viewed there. Okay, so that's the PDF viewer, or the PDF element in the skin, and that's what it does. The other new element was the code element. Now, I'm not going to go into any deep depth on this one, other than to say that it has a lot of usage. If you are a code junkie, this is how you put the code into the skin. You just add a code element and put it in, but that's going to be a whole separate webinar on that, I think. So I'm just going to leave that one there. Right. One other thing I want to say before I wrap this up, and that was something that we've been asked in the past, and that's when people were designing and building skins, they wanted to be able to put notes in. So we've done that because we listened, and when we add an element and you scroll down to the bottom, we have this notes tab here that we can open up, and we can type in a note. So this is a note for you. This is not something that is going to be seen in the output or anything else, but this is for you when you're developing the skin, developing your skin, and you may put something in there that, I don't know, you might say, you can leave this ID at rectangle 1, but just say, I don't know, this will, right, I don't know, you'll put in that message. So this will toggle a map, all right? So that's a little note for you. For what that element's for, but the good thing is that when you hover over it, you'll see that you get the tooltip pop up as well, telling you that note. So it gives you, skin junkies that are building the skins, it gives you the space to be able to put notes in for why certain elements have been added. Anyway, I'm going to throw it back to Karen one more time. Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, we do. I just wanted to say I love the notes feature. I think there should be notes everywhere. I don't know how many times I've been working on a project and forget, especially what I was doing in a skin or maybe my direction, and I can put my notes in there or to send it off to somebody else. So I think that's a very cool feature. Daniel is asking if, as we're updating the built-in skins, if the built-in skins have if they're also getting updated with the updates, with Pano2VR updates. And yes, you just have to, if you want to, if you want to get the changes from those updates, then you just have to re-output the project. So if it's something that changes on the output there.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
when you don't have to worry about
no, absolutely,
grabbing them from somewhere or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. So as you update, if there's been any updates, they automatically get added to the skins folder. So all done.
Yeah. I think that's all for the questions, and we can probably wrap it up then.
Excellent. Right. Well, first and foremost, thanks everyone for joining us today. As always, it's a pleasure, and obviously we all very much appreciate your attention, and of course all the ideas that you send us helps build the product. So yeah, we're all very happy about that, and thank you. I think the next webinar is going to be a little bit more about the skin. More details will be posted shortly after. But from me, thank you very much and goodbye. Karen?
And yeah, thank you too. And see you. I don't know when the next one is actually. We haven't, I don't know if it's next week or not, but thanks for your attention. And we'll let you know when the next one is and a little bit more about what we'll be covering.
I think it's going to be next week. I think because this is going to go into part 3 and 4, 5, 6, whatever. It's good to keep it on a roll, I think. And there was just a comment too. Someone was asking, like, are we going to have more detailed, specific webinars, not just going over the new features? And I know that Martin's got a whole bunch of projects up his sleeve that he can't wait to show you. So I think we'll be doing more of those more project-based specific webinars. So yeah. Okie doke. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
Thanks everyone and see you next time.
Bye.